So, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us in our virtual class. Today or this evening, depending on when you watch this, will be a 30-minute vinyasa followed by a 30-minute yin. And what we're honoring today actually is the spring equinox. So equal parts night and day, equal parts vinyasa. Think of that as the yang and then the yin. So recognizing that you're at home and may not have all the props. If you do have props and can grab your blocks, a strap or any belt or even a towel could work. And then maybe a blanket, whether a yoga blanket or any blanket will be fine. And if you don't have blocks, you might try to find something that you could use like a block. So I'm sure we all have plenty of boxes these days, so a box might work well. Plus you can kind of flip it around. Or even a chair. If you've got a folding chair that you can use and keep next to you, I'll demonstrate that with our pose of the week. Or really any chair that you can use to help get into the pose. So our pose of the week is revolve triangle or Parivrtta Trikonasana. And sometimes that's a little difficult to get all the way down to the floor. So ideally you'll have some blocks or a box that you can use, and if not, a chair. So recognizing the time that we're in and the challenges this is bringing to us both in our external world and in our life outside of and off the yoga mat. I thought we'd use this time to bring our thoughts to peace, to calm, to what we can control, which is our reactions. And so maybe notice today the reactions that come up with the pose. And just bringing that awareness to your reaction may help us in this time of turbulence. When we move into the yin section, I'm going to take a little bit more time before the yin section to talk through the yin kind of philosophy and what we're trying to do there. But for right now, just find a comfortable seat. And whether that's sitting on your mat, or if you've got blankets, maybe sitting on a blanket that's folded up, or even if you've got your yoga mat, you can roll up the back of your yoga mat and sit on that. So what we're looking for here is just the opportunity to find that little curve in your low back, that natural curve, allowing your knees to drop down. And if it's uncomfortable and you've got blocks, you can always stack the blocks underneath your knees. And you can always feel free to do this. Even if normally you're fine, you might find a little more support with the blocks. We'll draw our wrists to our knees and then just allow your gaze to find a spot in front of you where you softly gaze at that spot, or feel free to close your eyes. And coming into your breath, just breathing in and out of your nose and allowing your focus to come to your breath. So I just need to set a little timer so I keep track of where we are. Breathing in and out of your nose. So you allow the mind to center in on the breath. Allow everything else to melt away. So whether it's the busyness of the day or what lies ahead of you, allow that to melt away. And allow the only focus to be your breath. So breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. Remembering we can always find some degree of peace or calm or stillness by bringing our attention to our breath. So we'll move through some three-part breath. And with this breath sequence, the inhale will take in three parts. So we'll allow the low belly to expand first as it sort of welcomes the expansion. And then the upper, middle and upper chest, and then all the way to the upper chest. And then exhaling in reverse. So upper chest, middle, and then the lower belly. And maybe there's just a tiny squeeze up with that low belly. And then that just allows for the inhale, sort of prepares your body for that expansion and welcoming in of breath. And then exhaling. So let's do that 2 more times. Fluttering your eyes open and rolling off the mat. And we'll move through just a series of cat-cows. Just warm up the spine a little bit, especially if you've been sitting all day, or actually no matter what you've been doing, it's a great warm-up. So come in with your wrists right underneath your shoulders and your knees under your hips. We'll spread our fingers really, really wide. So sometimes we kind of come with soft hands. Want to really spread those fingers wide and root down into the fingertips. And notice where the position of your elbow creases are. So we want the elbow creases facing towards each other. Sometimes we sort of spiral our arms out. That creates a little more tension on the wrist. So we want to draw the forearms kind of square with the elbow creases facing each other. Take a little peek between your knees. If you see your feet, kind of scooch them out of the way. And then as if you were drawing your mat towards yourself, draw like the tops of your fingers in. Inhale and tilt your tail and your chin to cow, and then exhale to cat. So we'll round through the upper back, push the mat away, push the floor away. Inhale to cow, and exhale to cat. And continuing to move through that rhythm of your breath. So inhaling, taking the full length of the inhale, and then the full length of the exhale. Moving through one more round here. And then inhaling back to neutral spine. Let's just like walk our hands, maybe one handprint in front. Curling the toes under. Inhale and come into crouching cat. So the shins are parallel to the floor. Again, you're still pressing into the fingertips. Elbow creases are facing each other. Tilt the tail a little bit. So draw that tail up towards the sky. Inhale. And exhale as you lengthen your legs and the thighs move towards the back of the room. Find yourself in your first down dog. So staying in down dog, I will probably come in and out of the poses a little bit so I can make sure you can hear me. So from down dog, allowing maybe your heels to pedal one at a time, bending each knee. Continue to lift up through that low belly. Remember, like at the end of the exhale, how you drew that low belly up. Continue to lift through the low belly, but still finding your breath. Inhaling and exhaling. And then find some stillness in this pose. So as you allow the heels to drift towards the floor, they might not touch the floor. That's totally fine. Notice if the heels are sort of drawing inside. If you can see your heels, draw them out so you really don't see the heels. So the sides of your feet are perfectly aligned to the sides of the mat. Inhale and draw your gaze forward, and then as you exhale that air out, draw the pit of the belly up and start to walk your feet towards your hands. And so we'll come into ragdoll. So for ragdoll, you'll have your knees bent a lot. Your whole upper body might even be resting on your thighs. You can have your hands grabbing opposite elbow with opposite hand, or if you're more comfortable, resting your hands on a block, taking that block up high. Whatever's going to allow you to find some opening through the back body without strain. So we want to keep the knees bent a whole lot so you can feel like the the hamstrings are not really stretching. You're just getting a little lengthening, maybe in your spine and in your the whole back body. Let the head really drop. So feel like the crown of the head just drops towards the floor. And you've got opposite hand with opposite elbow. You can feel free to maybe even sway gently side to side. Inhale and exhale. And then we'll draw our hands to our shins and we'll come into that halfway lift. So for our halfway lift, we want to have the pit of the belly drawing up and be like a tabletop. So notice how sometimes you might find like you're in a cat position with your upper back. Draw your heart forward, press into your shins at the same time that you press your shins into your palms. Create that little bit of leverage for a nice long spine. Gaze can just be down to the floor, a nice neutral neck here. And then with a little bend in the knee, draw the hands to the hips. Pit of the belly draws in. Inhale, exhale. And on the next inhale, we're going to keep the spine long and stand straight arm up. And then we'll just greet Tadasana and start our practice. And we'll move through a couple sanes to kind of warm ourselves up. So we'll come up to the top of your mat with the toes, maybe big toes touching with a little space between your heels. We'll inhale the arms up, draw the gaze up. As you exhale and swan dive forward, lead with your heart, bow forward, crown of the head drops. Inhale, find that halfway lift. Exhale, go ahead and step back and we'll find our high push-up position. So again, fingers are spread really wide, pit of the belly lifts up, creases of the elbows face each other, draw the shoulders down the back. Take an inhale. For this first one, let's drop down to our knees and exhale all the way down to the floor, hugging the elbows in right next to the body. Tops of the feet press into the mat and inhale for mini cobra. So using just the strength of your back here. And then exhale all the way back to down dog. You can always feel free to take a child's pose at any time in the practice. But we'll all meet up in down dog. Breathing here. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhale and exhale. Taking one more inhale. Lifting your heels, looking between your hands, and exhale, stepping your feet towards your hands. Inhale for that halfway lift. Exhale, bow forward. Little bend in the knees. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. And exhale, hands to your heart center. And let's move through another round. So strong in your legs, root down through your feet. Draw the heart up, the gaze up. Inhale, exhale, swan dive down. Inhale, find a halfway lift. And exhale, step back. This time we'll come from high push-up. And we'll go to low push-up, chaturanga. So feel free to drop to your knees so that as you come into low push-up, you are hovering and your whole body is still like a plank. So the upper body is nice and flat. Inhale here, maybe scoop to up dog or cobra, and exhale and find down dog. Breathing here, a couple more breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more inhale, lift up to your tippy toes. Exhale the air out, and you can step, or if you want to float, bend your knees and hop your feet up towards your hands. Inhale, find the halfway lift. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. And exhale your hands to your heart center. Moving through one more round, inhale up. Exhale, swan dive down. Lead with the heart, crown of the head drops. Inhale, find your halfway lift. Exhale, step or float back into chaturanga. Low push-up. Inhale, find your up dog, cobra. Exhale, down dog. Taking a breath in here. Maybe a sigh out. Inhale and exhale. Keep tilting the tail towards the sky. Keep pressing the tops of the legs towards the back of the room. Keep pressing the floor away from you. So you're staying strong in your upper body, strong in your lower body. Again, pit of the belly presses up. Inhale and exhale. From here, let's inhale the right leg up to the
sky, and then bend the knee and start to open the hip. So you start to step your foot on like it's standing on the ceiling, start to open the hip. Continue to press away from the floor. Find that down dog feeling in your upper body. Take another inhale. As you exhale, come into high push-up and really hug your knee in. And then step the right foot close to the right thumb. So staying strong in the back leg, we're going to start to walk our hands up to high lunge. We'll start here and then draw the arms up. Shoulders release down the back. Really find that inner thigh of the back leg spiraling up towards the ceiling. Draw the right hip back. Press into the front heel. Take another inhale, maybe draw the gaze up. Exhale, release the hands down to the floor and step back to down dog. Now you can feel free to stay in down dog if you want to generate a little more heat. You can take that vinyasa, that high to low push-up, and then the inhale draws you up, and the exhale draws you back. Taking a breath here, exhaling, and then on the inhale, we'll let the left leg float to the sky, and again, really pressing the floor away from you with your hands, so staying strong in the upper body. Bend the top knee, really open the hip. Take another inhale, lift the knee a little higher. Exhale, draw your knee in, hug it in, and step the left foot close to the left thumb. Then lifting through the back, inner thigh, drawing the back leg back and the front knee forward. Inhale, come on up. Keep drawing that front knee forward. Take another inhale. Shoulders release down the back. One more inhale. Exhale, draw your hands down. Step back to down dog. Take your vinyasa if you'd like to. Take a child's. You kind of do this evening as you do in every practice. What will work for you today? Staying in down dog. Letting the crown of the head drop. Breathing here. Moving on a little bit. We'll inhale the right leg up. We'll exhale and draw the knee in, and then step the right foot again close to the right thumb. And again, really rooting down through the legs. Inhale and come on up. You can always walk up first to your knee and then all the way up. Take another inhale. Exhale and open it on up to Warrior Two. So for Warrior Two, we're going to position our heel to heel alignment. And then draw, so heel to back arch alignment. So you're like on a tightrope. And then let the shoulders release down the back. Draw the right knee out towards the baby toe side of your foot. Notice it kind of wants to slide in, so we're going to draw that knee out. And let the gaze come out over the front middle finger. Let the shoulders be soft. Find the outer edge of the back foot. Inhale and exhale. And let's flip our palm and inhale, and we'll reverse our warrior. Exhale, sink a little bit deeper. Take another inhale. Exhale, let's find side angle. So for side angle, we're going to stack our shoulders. Top shoulder over bottom shoulder. Stack our hips. Top hip over bottom hip. Try to trend like you're in between two panes of glass. Now this top arm can always stay on the hip if you have any shoulder strain, or you might just like it that way. That's totally cool. And then notice there's a tendency here to kind of just sink into this front forearm and elbow. So draw, using the strong core, draw away from the leg. Open it up a little bit more. Inhale and exhale. And then we're going to inhale back to Warrior Two. Exhale, I know that front thigh is talking. Inhale, lengthen. Reach forward, and as you open into triangles, keep that stacking. So the top shoulder over the bottom shoulder. The hips stay stacked. So that might mean this right arm isn't all the way down to the floor. That's totally cool. It is where it is, right? And again, if you've got blocks or even a handy dandy box, that's kind of cool to keep. And that lets you open a little bit more, really find the strength in your legs. Inhale and exhale. Now if you do have the block or a box near you. Keep it right where it is. Inhale and stand it straight on up. Exhale your hands to your hips. Draw your gaze forward, bend the front knee, and step the back foot in a little step. So we're going to find that now heel to heel alignment. The back foot, instead of being turned out, is going to turn slightly forward. We'll keep a little bend in that front knee as we begin to square our hips, and we're kind of setting up here for pyramid pose. Take even this front thumb and draw it into the right hip, and draw that right hip back. Draw the shoulders square. Inhale the left arm up. Exhale and come into a halfway down. Now really root down through that back leg. If the back heel is off the floor, it's going to be a little bit harder. So if you can find the back heel to the floor, do that. If you need to step it in a little bit, you can do that. But really root down through that back heel. Inhale and exhale, halfway down. Keep drawing the right hip back. Now this is where you can stay and find the blocks for revolved triangles, so the block can come to the inside of your foot or to the outside. Or if you're down, you can come to your fingertips. And again, if you don't have the blocks and you're going to use a chair, you can have the chair at some level in front of you, either here, kind of a little closer maybe, here, or you can use the legs as kind of a medium spot. So staying in that same pose, inhale and exhale, staying in that revolved triangle. Now if you want to take it a little bit deeper, what we can do from here, always with that nice long spine, draw again this right thumb in the right crease, draw the right shoulder back, and maybe even open the right palm facing away from you, fingertips towards the sky. Inhale and exhale, keep kind of spiraling the hips. So spiral the right hip back, left hip comes forward. Inhale and exhale. Pit of the belly lifts up. Drawing again now the right hand back to the right hip. As an option, we're going to move into revolved half moon. So you're going to take this block or your fingertips and move it in front and a little bit to the outside, to the inside of your right foot. And then you'll allow that right leg to kind of float off the sky. From here, so you can stay here if that's enough for you. Or you can begin to find that revolved half moon. As much as you can you stack your shoulders? Inhale and exhale. Stay really strong in that back leg, like you're standing on the back of the room. Inhale and exhale. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, slowly unwind. Move through this with some control. Let the left leg come down and find yourself in ragdoll. So we'll kind of rest a moment in ragdoll. Again, letting the crown of the head drop. Inhale and exhale. Toe heel your feet together. Big toes are going to touch. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend the knees, step back. High push-up to low push-up if you want the vinyasa. If you don't, go ahead and find down dog, find child's pose. Before we start the second side. Inhale and exhale. If you're in down dog, if you've chosen down dog, make it a good down dog. Find the energy. Press the floor away with your fingertips. Draw the upper arms, spiral them in. Lift the tail. Lift the pit of the belly. If you're in child's pose, begin to make your way back into down dog, and we'll all meet up in down dog as we start to move through our second side. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And then on an inhale, we're going to let the left leg rise on up. Exhale, draw your knee into your nose and step that left foot close to the left thumb. And then slowly make your way up into that high lunge position. So pausing here, lifting through the back, inner thigh, inhale, and then exhale and open into warrior two. So as we find warrior two, we're gonna really find the outer edge of our back foot. We'll come into that little tightrope alignment, heel to back arch. Inhale and exhale. Notice where that front knee is going. If it's coming to the inside, draw it to the outside. Go ahead and stay in warrior two. Let me just find this some tunes here. Inhale and exhale. Go ahead and flip the front palm. Inhale, reverse your warrior. Exhale. Take another inhale. Exhale and find side angle. And again, like reposition things. Check it out. Where's the outer edge of my back foot? Can I draw my shoulder closer in, away from my ear? Am I leaning into the left forearm? Can I use my strong core to lift up a little bit? And then the stacking. Shoulders are stacked. Hips are stacked. Inhale back to warrior two. And then lengthen all the way through the left leg, kind of tracks right up on a line here. Square again off to the side wall. Inhale and reach forward. Exhale and open. So we're back in triangle. With our shoulders stacked, our hips stacked. Lifting through the pit of the belly, really rooting down into the earth. Inhale and exhale. And then inhale and stand it straight on up. Go ahead and take your hands to your hips. Bend that front knee and step that back foot in, like maybe a full big step. So you can start to square your hips. The back foot kind of comes in at a little bit of an angle. You can keep a little bend in this front knee if that's easier and more accessible for you. Then we'll take this left thumb and start to square our hips. So we inhale the right arm up. Exhale and hinge at the hips. So find a long spine. Again, like I find if I keep just a tiny bend in that knee, I've got a little bit more ability to sort of rotate my hips. So I'm gonna square my hips. Inhale, exhale. Take another inhale, really root down through the back heel, and then exhale and allow this right arm to find something. Maybe it finds a block on the inside. Maybe it finds a block on the outside. Maybe the block is more like a box, or maybe you're back on that chair. Wherever you are, inhale for a long spine, and as you exhale and start to open, begin to draw the left arm up towards the ceiling. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Take one more inhale. So you exhale, we're just going to draw the left hand back to the left hip. Bend the front knee and start to draw the block or the fingertips towards a little bit more in front of the left foot. Let the right leg then kind of float off. So you can either stay here with your hips like square to the floor, or you can begin to rotate the shoulders, stay strong in the back leg, certainly strong in the front leg, really strong in the back leg. Begin to spiral open for your half moon, revolved half moon. Take another inhale. Exhale. One more inhale. So you exhale, release the left hand towards the floor, the right foot towards the floor. Find good old rag doll. Toe heel your feet together. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, draw your hands to your hips. A little bend in your knees. Inhale, stand all the way up. Inhale the arms up. Exhale. Let's fun chair. Maybe just one chair tonight. Hands to your heart center. Inhale for a little length in your spine. And then exhale and go ahead and take your twist. So remember, you can bring the elbow to the outside of the knee. You can also toe heel your feet apart and take the elbow between, or even open between. Something that allows you to keep your hips square, which your knees are a good indication. If this left knee shifts in front, your hips have just come off center. So we want to have our knees in line with each other, and then let the twist be more in the spine. And if you've got the prayer twist, we're going to really press the palms together, to be able to lift the upper body off, draw the right shoulder back, gaze to the sky, sink the hips a little bit lower, draw a little more length in the spine. So every inhale, we lengthen the spine. For your exhale, we might deepen the twist. Take another inhale. Exhale. Inhale on back to chair. Exhale, hands to the heart center. Let's just take the second side. So inhale, find length in the spine. Exhale, and go ahead and find your twist. And as you find your twist on the second side, again, you can feel free to toe heel the feet apart. You can have one hand down. You can even come on a block. Something that allows you to find square hips and then open. Or if you're in your prayer twist, ideally you've got your big toes touching, a little space between your heels, knees are together, and then you're going to really press into the palms. Let the upper body lift off the chest. Draw the left shoulder back. Keep sinking the hips low. Keep finding length in the spine. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, back to chair. Exhale and bow forward. Take a deep, deep forward fold. One option here is to take your hands underneath your heels with your pinkies touching each other or next to each other. Your forearms wrapped around your calves. Knees are bent a whole lot. And then as you start to lengthen, let the crown of the head drop, like standing on your hands. Inhale and exhale. Staying in that pose for a couple more breaths. Inhale and exhale. And then moving the hands away from the feet. Walk the hands forward. Walk the feet back. Find down dog. Inhale and exhale. Inhale to a high push-up. Dropping down to your knees, and we're going to exhale slowly down for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. So from here, we're going to move into actually our first yin pose. And so for this first yin pose, we're going to move into Sphinx. And for Sphinx pose, we're going to have our forearms a little bit in front of our shoulders. Maybe kind of think about putting them under your shoulders, but they'll be just a tiny bit in front. Extend your legs one at a time. Press the tops of the feet to the mat. And I'll talk through yin as we're in this pose. It will help. So pressing the forearms into the mat. Draw the shoulders away from the ears. Press away from the floor. And you'll feel a little stretch maybe in your abdominal area. And a little bit of compression in your low back. If you feel a whole lot of compression in your low back, come down a little bit lower, maybe even stay in this pose. But ideally, you can be up in Sphinx to help open the heart, open the front body. And so for our yin poses, the idea with yin is, so it's not the same as restorative. For yin, we might use a few props, but it's really about almost stressing the joint a little bit. That's in order to allow the muscles and the tissue around the joint to soften. It's a little different from stretching too. So whereas sometimes we are going for like a big stretch, that's not yin. So yin, think of the opposite of yang. And yang, we tend to like really go for stuff. Yin, we sort of soften, we kind of allow our bodies to be in this pose for a while, like a couple minutes. And as we're in the pose, notice like, okay, where am I gripping? And that's a good indication where you can sort of let go. Generally, it'll be the muscles around the area we're working. So in this area, the target is really the low back. You might start to grip your glutes. You might find your glutes gripping. And of course, another really good indication of if you're in a yin state of mind is where's your breath. So if you find that you're not really breathing or it's difficult to breathe, that might be an indication that you're pushing a little too much in that pose. So we're going to stay here for a couple more breaths. Inhale and exhale.
finding that softening. Sometimes I like to feel like in Sphinx, like I'm drawing. There's a little more energy sometimes if you draw the mat towards you, and that can also help to relieve some of that compression in the low back. So with yin, we also look for some stillness in the pose. But if you're feeling really uncomfortable, like I said, you can come out of the pose before we do. The longer or the more you practice yin, the more you'll be able to stay in the poses longer. Sometimes it's a little bit of a mental thing. So take a little inhale, and then as we exhale, we're going to slowly release down, let the elbows come to the outside. Draw your hands alongside your shoulders, and our good old friend, find child's pose. So we'll also take advantage of child's pose in yin. So go ahead and stay in child's pose. I'm just going to get up so that you can hear me. Let the hips release to the low back. Inhale and exhale. Just find your breath here. Your hands back alongside your shoulders and push yourself up. And we'll move into butterfly pose. So drawing your legs either around to the outside or rolling across your ankles. Come into butterfly. And for this butterfly, sometimes we're like really have the heels in close. We're going to scooch them away a little bit. Draw the inner thighs away from each other. It might be nice to keep a block if you've got one, but I'll show you some options if you don't. So inhale here, and again we're gonna exhale. Remember, it's not like a yang, like a really strong stretch. It's a softening. So you let your back be fairly straight, the spine be long as you hinge at the hips first. And then once you're kind of where you're gonna be with no effort, you allow your upper back to round slightly, and you can allow your forehead to find a block, maybe your wrists, maybe your fists, something that lets your forehead find something to rest on. And if that's not working, you can stand the block up tall and let your forehead rest here. We'll stay here for a few minutes, literally. We usually don't do that, but for this one we will. Staying for about another minute. Just notice if there's anywhere that you're gripping and find those muscles. Allow them to soften. Getting to slowly come out of the pose very gently. One of the things too in yin, because we're in the poses for a while, you want to really be mindful as you exit the poses. So we're going to actually move into kind of our lizard pose. So go ahead and roll forward or draw your legs to the outside and begin to find yourself back in a down dog. This also might feel really good on the back, so feel free to pedal it out a little bit and kind of just check things out again. Not a lot of effort in this down dog. You can keep your knees bent a little bit. Just allow it to be an opportunity for the body to sort of relieve or release any constriction from that last pose. And then we'll step our right foot forward between our hands. So we're going to come into our lizard lunge. Now, you can always drop down to the back knee. In fact, that might feel really good. And if it's uncomfortable because your mat is thin or you're on kind of a hard floor, if you don't have another blanket, you can always double up the back of the mat. And then draw both hands to the inside of that front knee. Now here again, it might help. You might be more comfortable with your hands up on a couple blocks. If you've got two, that would be really great. Then you can kind of keep your hands shoulder width apart. Again, if you have that chair, especially a chair with multiple rungs, you can just make sure it's kind of stable there. You can also use the chair. As we stay in this pose, if you want to go a little bit deeper into the pose, and again, remember we're yinning here, not yanging, but if it feels good to you, so if it feels like, yeah, I'm good, I can go ahead and release a little bit deeper, you can do that. Now notice this right knee might come slightly to the outside. That's okay, or you can toe heel that right foot out a little bit, and that might help create a little more stability there. So we'll stay here for about another 30 seconds or so. I notice too there's a tendency in this part of the pose, especially if you're on your forearms or even if you're up on your hands, to let your shoulders kind of sink down. So we're going to actually on this one press away from the floor. Soften in the hips. Inhale and exhale. Really noticing that back hip soften. The hip flexor open. Now we'll move into one more version of the pose. You can always stay here. You don't have to do this next version. But what we're going to do, if you would like, is taking your hand to your right knee and really pressing away from the right knee as you start to spiral open the chest. Now here again, you might even feel comfortable taking the foot to about 2 o'clock and almost feel like you're pushing the skin on your thigh towards your knee. It's going to help give you a little more lift. Another option again is to take this left hand and either keep it on the block or come up to fingertips. I often find that gives me a little more kind of room to twist. Breathing here. And again, finding that softening. A few more seconds here. Inhale and begin to slowly come out of the pose. Move the block away. Unroll your mat if you rolled it back up. And go ahead and step back to down dog. Again, soften the down dog, maybe with that knees. And then go ahead and step the left foot through, lower down to the back knee. And again, maybe it feels more comfortable to have the mat turned under there. And we'll stay in this pose for another 40 seconds or so, drawing the hand to the inside of the knee. and staying right here. Kind of again letting the body soften. Again, you might be up on the blocks. That might feel good. Or maybe you're down on your forearms. Maybe toe heeling that left foot out a little bit. Wherever you are, noticing if you're kind of relaxing into the joints. You want to support the joints. Press the palms into the floor. Press away from the floor a little bit. You can even let the crown of the head drop. This version is actually called gecko. Letting the crown of the head drop. You move from lizard to gecko. And to walk your hands up slowly. And we'll come into the last version of the pose again. You can always stay here to take a little more opening and twisting. You can turn the toes this time to like 10 o'clock. Press again the left hand into the left thigh. So you're sort of pushing the knee away, like you're almost moving that skin down towards the knee. And then again, maybe this right hand comes up to a block or maybe to fingertips. Opening here, staying soft in that back hip. Staying for about 30 more seconds here. And like I said, the idea is to be in the pose for a while in stillness, but if at all, if your breath is kind of labored, that's a good indication to maybe back off a little bit. Maybe you come out of the twist, or maybe you just release up a little bit onto that right hand. And when you're ready, begin to unwind the pose. Unwind your mat if you folded it up. And we'll step back to one last down dog. And again, let's make it a nice soft down dog. So knees are slightly bent. Head is resting down. Crown of the head down towards the floor. Neck super relaxed. Let's go ahead and come forward to our knees. And we'll release back to one more child's pose. We won't hold it quite as long. Or just to let the hips release, let the low back release. Inhale and exhale. And draw the hands alongside the shoulders, pressing yourself back up. And then walking your knees up towards, maybe more towards the top of your mat. Draw your feet to one side and roll back. And we're gonna come onto our backs. And I'm gonna move sideways so you can, I think it'll be easier to see what I'm doing. So go ahead and roll all the way back. You can take a little advantage of a little bit of core work here, or you can release back to your elbows and all the way back. And then draw your feet in like we were gonna do bridge pose, but we're not gonna do bridge pose. And then draw the upper body, the shoulders underneath you a little bit. Go ahead and cross your right leg over your left. Lift your hips up off the floor and shift them a couple inches to the right. Taking your arms out to the side like a T. Draw your knees into your chest, take an inhale. And then on an exhale, slowly start to roll over onto your left side. Now this right arm might be kind of stressed out here, so draw the right arm closer to your body if that would feel better. Let the left hand release gently onto the outside of the left knee. You can draw your gaze forward or up to the sky, or you can draw your gaze to the right side. And we're gonna stay here for a couple minutes. So really, again, this is one where you can kind of notice where you might be gripping the muscles, might need some intentional soft
Placing your palms on your shins, or on your knees, sorry, and give yourself a little bit of a back massage in one direction, and then the other direction. And then set the feet down again, right in line with your hips, arms out to your side. And we'll take the second side, so we'll cross the left knee over the right. Lift the hips off the floor and shift them just a couple inches to the left. Draw the knees into the chest, and then let them drop over to the right this time. And again, adjusting the left arm in any way that gives you less stress on that left shoulder. You can even rest your left hand on your left hip. You can rest your right hand on the outside of your left knee. If you'd like to, and roll back over onto your back, starting by bringing your left knee into your chest and then your right knee. Give yourself that little back massage in one direction, and then in the other direction. And then we'll go ahead and move into Shavasana. So you can move right from the pose you're in, drawing your feet again back down to the floor. Bring your arms out at about a 45-degree angle. Toe heel your feet till they're about towards the outsides of your mat, and then just let the heels release down and find that beautiful resting pose. Certainly if you need a blanket or any clothes, feel free to put those on. But once you have found your pose, do whatever you need to get about 5% more comfortable. And then just find stillness. Let the body really release and let go.
So in this very unusual time, sure, like most of you, I turned to some reading, some things that I hope will help me. So I thought I'd share something from Michael Singer, his surrender experiment. Surrender. What an amazingly powerful word. It often engenders the thought of weakness and cowardice. But in my case, it required all the strength I had to be brave enough to follow the invisible into the unknown. It's not that surrender gave me clarity about where I was going. I had no idea where it would lead me. But surrender did give me clarity in one essential area. My personal preferences of like and dislike were not going to guide my life. By surrendering the hold these powerful forces had on me, I was allowing my life to be guided by a much more powerful force, life itself. I could see that the practice of surrender was actually done in two very distinct steps. The first, you let go of the personal reactions of like and dislike that form inside your mind and heart. And second, with the resultant sense of clarity, you simply look to see what is being asked of you by the situation unfolding in front of you. So gently beginning to invite some movement back into your fingers and toes as you begin to reawaken to your body in whatever way feels natural to you. And then drawing your knees into your chest one at a time. And we'll roll over to our right side and all the way onto our right arm like it's a pillow. And we'll rest here. This is our pose of rebirth, regeneration. And using both hands, gently push ourselves up. Remaining with our eyes closed, letting our head be the last thing that comes up as we meet together back in that comfortable seated position. Sukhasana, easy pose. Remaining connected to that peace, that calm, that stillness that's in your heart. And you turn to it whenever you need it to be your guide. Draw your hands to your heart center and bowing in gratitude to this practice. It brings us together and it helps us heal together. And to yourself for making time for this healing practice. Drawing your thumbs to your third eye, inhaling and exhaling. The light in me bows to the light in each of you. Namaste. Thank you very much for sharing the practice, for sharing this time, in this space, even if we're virtual. I feel like I'm with you. Enjoy the rest of the day or evening, depending on